Hi, I'm Sailor Eric, and I'm here today to help answer the question, what is the Chicago Three Crib Fiasco? But let's start first with an easier question. In this context, what is a crib? We will answer that, as well as provide insight into what makes Chicago's Three Crib Fiasco Race so special. Yes, it's a sailboat race. I'll go over how it is structured and show you lots of fun video as Silverheels stayed with the racers on a broad reach as we were flying 5 sails. We also found a spot to cut through the race and catch a number of sailboats running for the finish line. Cribs are structures built on the surface of Lake Michigan, meant to house and protect the freshwater intakes for the water supply of Chicago. Most of the cribs are not functioning, but 2 are currently active. For the active cribs, the lake water is pumped through underground tunnels, which are up to 20 feet in diameter, to the water pump and purification facilities located on the Chicago shoreline. One is located on the north side of Navy Pier, and the other is located in South Chicago, where 78th Street meets the lake. Whether active or not, these structures serve as excellent landmarks for this namesake race. The wind for the day turned out to be light and variable, but generally east by southeast. This is data taken from a weather buoy located relatively close to the race. You can see between 11 and 1 p.m. the wind shifted by as much as 80 degrees from south by southeast to east by northeast. With wind that light, your wind speed and direction all depended on where you were on the lake, and a couple of 100 meters could make things very different in terms of catching a few knots more of wind. The racecourse is an approximately 13-mile racetrack oval, where the northern extreme is marked by the Wilson Crib and the southern extreme is marked by the 4-mile crib. One of my crew members on this day was Pat, who has served on the Columbia Yacht Club race committee during a 5-year period, 2 of which he chaired the committee. Here is what Pat shared when asked what sets the Three Crib Fiasco Race apart from other races during the season.
The Three Crib Fiasco is unique. It's the only race in the lake that I'm aware of. It's both a pursuit race and a bi-directional. And let me explain those 2 terms. A pursuit race is every boat gets its individual start time, with the slowest boats starting first, and they just keep going as individual starts until the fastest boat gets its start. It's bi-directional, and they can go either direction they want around these pumping stations. So some boats will start going north and some boats will start going south, and thus it's a bi-directional.
How many races are like that in Chicago?
This is the only one that I'm aware of on the Great Lakes that is both bi-directional and a pursuit race.
All right, the last thing I'll just point out is we are in a very low wind situation. This is a 25,000-pound boat. It is a 3-knot wind at the moment, and we are still making headway off wind. The apparent wind and true wind is behind us. We're on a broad reach, and we are making about 1 knot of speed. So it's not overly impressive, 1 knot of speed, but many sailboats in this situation, the sails would be luffing, you would just be going nowhere. So the fact that this boat is actually moving in a direction that we want to go under a point of sail with the sails up is nice. So I'm just going to take the phone and show you the gauges at this point. The boat speed is at 0.9 knots. The true wind speed is 2.9 knots. And we're continuing to move along on a beam to broad reach. We had 5 sails up at this point in the day to include the mizzen staysail, the main, the staysail, and the Genoa. Tune into the next episode to see us raise the mizzen stay as well as adjust a working jib block under tension.
All right, this is the Three Crib Fiasco out here. And we are in challenging low wind conditions. And we are chasing the race back here.
This was taken around 1 p.m. and the wind is actually in the process of picking up a little bit. We are moving northwest along the racecourse and closing in on the orange turn marker. The sailboats southwest of the marker are sailing slightly into the wind at a close reach point of sail. When they arrive at the turn marker, they turn their noses away more north to northwest, which puts the wind so that it is coming off their aft quarter, and this allows them to drop their jibs or forward sails while raising their spinnakers, which are the more colorful looking sails. Looking back at this video, I'd note the prominent looking wind lines that can be seen in the video where the dark blue of the lake represents what is likely a slightly higher wind speed than the corresponding light blue water. The demarcation of where the wind is stronger is easy to see in these conditions, and maneuvering the boat into the darker blue areas while still maintaining a course made good on the racecourse is what these racers would probably be trying to attain. Note the sailboat now approaching the turn marker, who is raising the spinnaker. I was watching sailing vessel Breakaway, a North American 40, closely as she approached the turn marker. I was in a very good position to film her as she raised the spinnaker. Unfortunately, they had trouble raising it, and it turned out to be an evolution. The spinnaker came up, but they could not fill it with air, and the sailboat veered west to allow more wind to get behind her. You can see a person standing on the extreme forward edge of the bow, and I wondered if they were having trouble dropping the foresail, as it seemed to me that this would clear a major obstruction to the wind and allow the spinnaker to fill better. This T10, Amateur 2, is one I've noticed in other races. She just looks cool to me compared to other tartan 10s. I only caught the last part of the spinnaker transition with her, where she is lowering the foresail. But you can see she did a good job of filling the spinnaker expediently. Most of the racing fleet was either behind us or in front of us at this juncture. You might also notice that some of the sailboats ahead of us were coming toward us, which is what makes this race a bi-directional race and why the word fiasco is in the name, as a racer has to dodge oncoming traffic. The large sailboat going by is named Suspect and is a distinctive and storied Perry 58. I would point out it was at this point of the sail that Silverheels was keeping pace with the race fleet, doing about 4 knots of speed with about 6 to 7 knots of wind.
So we are in the meat of the Three Crib bi-directional race, where sailboats are going both ways on this course.
As you see these sailboats pass by the screen, you will notice that they all have numbers on their sails. These numbers are required for racers and serve as identifiers which are registered as part of the race entry process. You can look up the race entrants based upon those sail numbers at yachtscoring.com. I've included the link for this particular race here. You might also notice that Silverheels is keeping pace with Amateur 2 and Breakaway, the 2 race boats I referred to earlier. Breakaway is easy to spot as she has a colorful spinnaker featuring an image of a downhill skier.
Hey! Minnow! Yes!
At 1:25 p.m., the wind was slightly lighter at around 5 knots, and we were about as far north as I wanted to go in these light and variable wind conditions. We struck the mizzen stay, which dropped our boat speed by about 1 knot, and then looked for an opportunity to change direction and cut through the racecourse, where we would then get a peek at the other side of the race on the west side. You can see as I pan across the race that the wind has dropped below 5 knots, and some of the racers are finding it difficult to keep their sails filled. It was at this point that we decided to turn on the engine to help us get to the other side of the race. By about 2:20 p.m., we had positioned ourselves just east of the finish line, and were working our way south across the racecourse. We would have to be careful as to stay out of the way of those competing, so our engine was on most of the time from this point forward to allow us to dodge the racers as they made a dash for the finish.
This is the last big race of the season. There will be a couple people are putting their boats away already, and right after this race, most of the racers are going to put the boats away.
I would guess that makes the reception afterwards that much more special.
Yes, yes.
A quick look at the skyline as we head back in. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.